Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we'll be looking at something a little different, something much more personal and powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's chapter 23 from a memoir, and well, it chronicles this young woman's senior year at high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I know you think you senior year high school, been there, done that, but this is different. This
Mm.
isn't about, prom dates and college applications. This is
Oh,
about returning to those hallways after 6 months in the hospital, relearning to walk
oh, wow.
with exposed bones beneath sterile bandages.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what our narrator is dealing with as she steps back into a world that really had moved on without her.
That's a tough reality to face. It's hard to even imagine going through something like that, especially at such a pivotal time in your life. On one hand, you have that typical senior year excitement, anticipation, all those milestones. But on the other hand, you have this young woman grappling with the after effects of this life-altering illness. And it's not just the physical scars either, right? The memoir goes into detail about the extent of her injuries, loss of muscle and skin, the pressure garments she had to wear, the visible evidence of what she went through.
It's all right there.
And then you layer on top of that the psychological and social implications of her changed reality. It's a lot to process.
It really is. And there's this one line that just really got to me. It's when she's describing walking through those school hallways,
Mm.
facing the stairs and the unspoken questions from her classmates.
Oh, I bet.
She says, with each passing face, it was hard to escape the wonder of how much they knew about what happened. I was walking beside them with bare bones exposed.
Wow, that's powerful. It really speaks to that challenge of trying to reintegrate socially after a trauma like that. It's not just about fitting back in, it's about reclaiming some sense of normalcy in a body and in a life that have been, irrevocably changed.
Yeah, and she's carrying the weight of that experience, both physically and emotionally, as she's trying to navigate this world that maybe doesn't fully understand what she's been through.
Absolutely. And that's where Quentin comes in, right? Her physical therapist. The memoir really portrays him as this constant presence in her recovery, but their connection, it goes way beyond just the clinical side of things.
Yeah.
It's almost like he becomes this guide for her as she re-enters the world, helping her with everything from walking and biking to just enjoying nature again.
Yeah.
It really shows you the impact a dedicated therapist can have on a patient's recovery. It's not just about the physical rehab. It's about that emotional support, the encouragement, the sense of companionship that can really make a difference in helping someone regain their footing.
Right. But it's not a simple dynamic either.
Mm.
The narrator's feelings for Quentin are complex.
Mm.
There's gratitude, of course, dependence, but also this questioning of whether she's even worthy of such care.
Well, that makes sense, especially given her age and the vulnerability she's experiencing. She's grappling with her own self-worth while relying on someone else for support and guidance. It's a delicate balance.
It is. And then in the middle of all of this, she gets nominated for Homecoming Queen.
Really?
Yeah, can you imagine? It was completely unexpected, especially with everything she was going through.
Wow, I can only imagine how she must have felt.
It left her bewildered. Honestly, it left me bewildered too when I read it.
It's interesting, though, because it raises these questions about the motivations behind her classmates' nomination.
Mhm.
Was it genuine support and admiration? Were they trying to uplift her spirits? Or was there something deeper going on, maybe even subconscious? Could it be their own way of grappling with anxieties about mortality and resilience, seeing her strength in the face of all this adversity? It's complex. The memoir leaves it open to interpretation.
It does.
It's kind of fascinating how, even with all this personal turmoil, life just keeps going on around her. There's this disconnect between what she's going through internally and then the seemingly carefree world of her classmates.
Yeah, and it's not just the Homecoming nomination either. There's also the school play.
Oh, right.
She gets cast as Buddha in The King and I.
Interesting.
And she actually chose that role partly because it didn't require her to move around a lot.
Makes sense.
But looking back, she sees like a deeper meaning in that choice.
Yeah, there's definitely some symbolism there, right? Choosing a role that embodies inner strength and peace while she's going through her own personal storm. It's almost like her life is mirroring the character she's playing on stage.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but you're right. It fits. And then there's this turning point in the chapter. It's this weekend trip to the Swiss Alps.
Oh, wow, the Alps.
Yeah, and it's orchestrated by Quentin.
It's more than just a getaway, though, right? It seems like a deliberate move on his part. He recognizes she needs something more than just physical therapy.
Yeah.
He gets that she's carrying this heavy emotional burden and needs space to process everything. And the Swiss Alps seem to provide that sanctuary.
You can really sense the shift in the narrative When she starts describing the setting, that quiet cottage, the snow-covered mountains, just this chance to breathe and reflect and just be.
Yeah, it's like the landscape itself is offering a sense of healing and perspective.
I thought that too. And it's interesting because she talks about how much she loved skiing in the Alps before her illness.
Oh, so she had a connection to the mountains already.
Yeah, it was one of her favorite things to do. And now she's experiencing those same mountains in a completely different way. It's like a return to something familiar, but it's been fundamentally changed by what she's gone through.
Right, because she's
And
changed.
it's in that setting, in those transformed mountains, that she has this powerful epiphany.
What happened?
She's looking out at the scenery and it hits her. Her life is now a blank canvas.
Wow.
It's ready for her to create her own future.
That's a huge turning point for her, right?
Yeah.
It's like she shifts from feeling like a victim of circumstance to taking on the role of an artist in her own life.
Yeah, she's reclaiming her agency, recognizing the power she has to shape her own story.
And she's not just dreaming about the future either, she's actively shaping it.
She even talks about like sectioning off areas of the mountain landscape in her mind to visualize different stages of her life, the past, the present, the future. It's all there in front of her. It's really powerful.
It is. It's like she's using the visual landscape to work through her internal journey.
And she's not just passively thinking about these things. She's really experimenting with different possibilities, seeing how they feel.
That's a pretty proactive approach to healing and self-discovery.
She even mentions how she struggled with those future images. You know, she wants so badly to be happy in this new life, in this new body. And she keeps refining those visions until they feel right.
That makes sense. It speaks to the power of visualization, right?
Yep.
And the importance of aligning your aspirations with your values. She's not settling for just any future. She's looking for a future that truly resonates with her.
It's like she's using that blank canvas metaphor to rebuild her life brick by brick, brushstroke by brushstroke.
It is. And there's this contrast she draws between her experience and what her classmates are going through. They're focused on that typical voyage through life,
Right.
but she feels like she's on this voyage of the soul.
It really highlights how this trauma, this forced confrontation with her own mortality, has put her on a completely different path.
Yeah.
It's a deeper, more introspective journey. It's one that forces her to face her fears, her vulnerabilities, but ultimately her own resilience.
Yeah, it's like she had to figure out her whole blueprint for life at 17. Most people don't really go through that till much later.
It's true. And it's in that quiet space surrounded by those huge mountains that it hits her. She is the one in control. She's the architect of her own life.
Yeah.
It's not just about making choices. It's about realizing she has the power to shape her own experience, her
Yeah.
story, her future.
It's really amazing how she finds that resilience, especially at her age and after everything she's been through. Do you think that strength was always there just waiting to be discovered, or did it come from going through all of this? That's a really good question. Maybe it's a little bit of both. We all have that ability to be resilient, but sometimes it takes something big, some kind of challenge to bring it out.
Right. Like her ordeal stripped away all the self-doubt and revealed this strength she didn't even know she had.
Exactly.
And this chapter, it's about so much more than just her physical recovery. It's about how the human spirit can transform, how we find meaning when things are tough, and the courage to see a new future, even when the old one is gone.
Absolutely. This young woman's story, it's a powerful reminder that even when life throws us those curveballs, even when we face those unimaginable things, we still have a choice.
We do.
We can either let fear take over, or we can embrace the chance to create, to rebuild, to paint a new vision for ourselves.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left thinking about the narrator's journey.
Whoa.
I have a question for you listening. What about your own blank canvas moments?
Oh, that's good.
Those times when everything felt uncertain, maybe even scary, but you also knew there was potential for something new and meaningful to happen.
We all have those moments. Maybe not as dramatic or life-changing as what our narrator went through, but they're still important.
Right.
It could be losing a job, a relationship, ending a health scare, or maybe just feeling lost.
Yeah.
And it's in those moments that we can take a step back, look at what's important to us, and decide what we want to create on that blank canvas.
It's a good reminder that even when things are hard, there's always that possibility for growth, for reinvention, for creating something beautiful and meaningful from what we've been through.
I love that. And who knows, maybe those blank canvas moments are the ones that lead us to our truest selves.
Maybe you're right. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been amazing to explore this young woman's journey with you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep painting your own masterpiece.